Let's start with NC State. The C.J. Bailey conversation has gone up a level after the win over Stanford. First of all, full context, Stanford didn't look great. So give that whatever just do you want. 59 points is the most NC State has ever scored against an ACC opponent. It also just happened to be the first time they faced Stanford as an ACC opponent. Do with that what you will.
Welcome to the league.
Exactly. We also play defense in this league. You should think about it. Cal has. But Bailey's stat line is good on air. 18 of 20. That's 90% completion. 234 yards, 3 touchdowns of efficient football. Dave Doeren, the head coach, was asked about his confidence in his young quarterback.
When you have the bye week, you're able to really drill in on the things that he's doing well and build the offense, around those things for him and how he's seeing it, talking to him, the offensive staff, Coach Roper and Coach and I spending time with him, looking at the film, and here's the things that he sees well. These are the routes we're running well. Here's different ways we can get guys open. But there's nothing we can't call. And when you have opportunities to study yourself, and I think it comes down to the ownership, and that's what makes our team special. These guys are willing to accept the things that they haven't done, put a plan together to improve, and then they get on the field and they work.
Listen, sometimes you just have to acknowledge you got a dude. C.J. Bailey is a dude. And surprise, surprise, that efficiency in the passing game, particularly early, translated to a running game that got going and worked. They used Casey Concepcion out of the backfield a little bit, but really it was Hollywood Smothers to start, and then Jordan Waters obviously had the long run at the end as Stanford wore down. But it all starts with the efficiency of the passing game. By the way, one of my bold predictions was 3 passing touchdowns for C.J. Bailey. Nailed it. Take my victory lap on that one. It's good. It's great for NC State. Now, just to be the quick, before we transition over to UNC, a slight bearer of bad news. There's a good chance C.J. Bailey is the best freshman or true freshman quarterback in the country. You can compare him to the Nico Iamaleavas. You can compare him to the Dylan Raiolas. He's flat out performing better. That's expensive on the open market. That's the just the flip side, the devil's advocate, give you both sides of the story. I'll just even paint this just a what if, right? Something to be aware of. Something that might make you drive to your NIL collective to make a donation if you're an NC State fan. Will Howard of Ohio State had a good weekend over the weekend. I believe his eligibility is up. If not, it might be if Ohio State has anything to say about it. C.J. Bailey's best wide receiver from high school is Jeremiah Smith, the number 1 wide receiver for Ohio State. Just saying. And they got money. They spent $20 million this offseason. NC State's going to have to pay up because C.J. Bailey looks very, very good. The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 99.9 The Fan. Let's go to UNC. For the first time all season, I completely agreed with darn near everything that UNC did in a game that mattered. I may as well have been calling plays for UNC. 35 touches for Omarion Hampton. I've been asking for it. How did it work? 265 total yards. 172 on the ground, 93 in the air, 5 touchdowns, 4 on the ground, 1 in the air. That's a heck of a day.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. 5 TDs. That's pretty good.
For comparison, Florida State's entire offense had 64 less total yards and 4 less touchdowns than Omarion Hampton.
Yeah.
That's great because you have a really, really, really good player who, to my knowledge, right, based on everything I've seen over the last 2 years, doesn't seem to slow down with volume. Right? It's not the big play threat who averages 10 yards a carry, but if you were to give him 20 carries, would suddenly be getting knocked over and doesn't have the stamina or the durability. He's a guy that gets stronger as the game goes on, so just keep giving him the ball. And that allows you to be more efficient in your passing game. Jacoby Criswell, the quarterback, was empowered to play efficient football, protect the football, rather than try to go out there and win a game because he had his running back that was like, I'll win it, you don't lose it, we'll meet in the end zone. 17 throws, no turnovers, only took 1 sack. Heck of a decision-making game from Jacoby Criswell. And the defense did what they should do against the worst offense in the ACC. Light them up. Mac Brown, the head coach of UNC, talked about being able to stop the run.
I thought we would have trouble stopping the run, and then they would try to go play action over our head. And I'm just so proud that they rushed for 42 yards. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row where our front seven has stopped the run. And we talked about it. We said we had to do it, and we didn't do it for 4 weeks. And here we are now that when you stop the run, you win. Run the ball, you win the game. And that's what we're doing.
They not only stopped the run, but once Florida State was pushed into passing situations, they were prepared to be opportunistic and take advantage of it. 7 sacks for the team, 3.5 of them from Bo Atkinson by himself. The 2 interceptions, one from the safety on the deep ball. Unbelievable. One of those that, like, I equate it to when Vince Carter dunked and put his elbow in the rim, and nobody knew to cheer until you watched it on the Jumbotron and was like, what happened? Oh, that's what that interception was. It was like, how is he running away with the ball? Watch it on the Jumbotron. Oh, it was like the delayed. That's a really good game from UNC. This is what, now we'll talk both, right? NC State, UNC. I know they don't like to be compared, but let's compare their games this weekend. One puts them both one game closer to bowl eligibility. Both have 5 wins now. They're 5-4. You got to find one more, but now you're thinking, let's get bowl eligible by a couple. This past weekend for both of them could be described as get-right games. Now, I said before the game for UNC, they had their get-right game against UVA, but against Florida State, it could be a get-fired-up game, right? It's you still have to take advantage of the opponents that you can manhandle as far as building confidence and finding out what you do best and getting in rhythm. UNC did that. NC State did that. We could be the Debbie Downers of the world and sit here and say Stanford is 2-7 and they are third to last in the ACC, and Florida State is 1-8 and they are second to last in the ACC. Why are you getting excited about those games? We could do that. Or we could say we watched the games and it felt like these teams were either re-emerging and rediscovering their identity, or maybe emerging as a team with an identity for the first time. NC State's identity for me is now CJ Bailey gets you started. Justin Jolie on the receiving end, Casey Concepcion, Wesley Grimes, those guys, obviously Rogers, all of those guys on the receiving end, but he's the straw that stirs the drink until then you can counter off of it and get everything else going. For UNC, we've known it. I think they've known it, but sometimes you stray a little bit. It's Omari and Hampton. It's the running game. It's Omari and Hampton. It's the running game. It's Omari and Hampton. And by the way, it's the offensive line run blocking. There's some plays there where Omari and Hampton got the yards, but he wasn't touched for quite some time. Willie Lampkin is obviously a stud. Aiden Banfield, I saw, who's a freshman playing for them in the interior of the offensive line, was one of the 10 highest graded, according to Pro Football Focus, true freshmen in the entire country. Number 1 was CJ Bailey, but UNC had one up there as well in the offensive lineman Aiden Banfield. A lot of good for those two teams. Now it's about transitioning that, carrying it over to when you're playing a better team, more of a challenge.